statement in Excel, and we're going to start with a simple statement here. Basically what we're going to do is take, if this box is checked with any value, we want it to display the color red. And if this box is checked, we want it to display the color yellow. And if this box is checked, we want to display the color blue. Now, if nothing's checked, then we want it to display none selected. And a little later in the series, we're going to go through how to make it if this box and this box is checked, then we make it green, because yellow and blue makes green. Or if this box and this box is checked, then we make it purple, and the color, because red and blue make purple. And if red and yellow are checked, then we want it to be orange. So if statements are just logical statements that state that if all conditions are true, then this happens, and if they're not, then something else happens. So let me go back to this, and we're going to start with our blank canvas. Okay, so to set up the worksheet, we're going to take columns A, we're going to select that column. We're going to control and select column C and E as well. We're going to right click and go to column width and set that at a value of 7. And then we're going to do the same thing for columns B, D, and F. Right click. Our column width on that, we want that to be a 15. I'm going to select the whole sheet and set the right click on one of the rows, set the row height at a value of 39. This just kind of sets up our formats so that we don't have to go in and change the rows and columns later. So now we're going to go to cell B1. We're going to type red into that. And we're going to set this as, I can pin this back in there. We're going to set that as a black background. We want it to have a red font. And we're going to center align that just to make it look nice. And then we're going to put a font size of 30 on that. Now I'm going to copy that, Control C to copy, or you can do right click and copy. And I'm just going to paste that into cell D. I'm going to type yellow in here. Now of course we want to change the font color to a yellow color. And then we're going to just copy that over, and we're going to type blue in here. And we'll set that to the blue. Oop, wrong blue. That's the blue. Now, I personally hate when I'm looking at a worksheet and I see all of these grid lines. Don't really need them, so I'm going to take those out. And then we're going to take cells A3 through F10. And we are going to merge and center those. So we just click this merge and center. And then we want a center value as well. So, okay, and then we're going to change the font size on that to 836. Okay, so we've got our format set up now. So what do we want to do here? So we want this box to display what these values are and values in A, C, and E. So we're going to do some conditional formatting. We're going to do some very basic conditional formatting. This is not the most efficient way to do this, but just for the sense of training, we're going to do it this way anyway. So I'm going to use a formula to determine which cells to format. And I'm going to say, so if we start our statements out with an equal sign, if this box equals red, then we want, I'm sorry, actually I want to make that purple, because we're going to start I'll explain this in a second here. So if that equals purple, then we want our font style to be bold. We want our color to be purple. And then we're going to switch over to the Fill tab and make that a black background. So you'll see that's how it's going to display in there. And then we're going to make another rule that says, alright, so it's not purple, so if the A3 equals green, then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do this black background. And since it remembers, you're going to constantly be switching back and forth, or you can just go and do it in the same order, whatever makes most sense to you. We're going to do another rule that says, alright, so now it's not green, so if we wanted to say if A3 equals orange, then we're going to, of course, use the orange formatting. So we're going to do bold and orange. And fill is black. And another rule for equals A3, so if that equals blue, then same thing. We're going to do a black background, almost did the blue background, bold, and we're going to do the blue color. And same thing, so now we're at yellow. And format, bold, a yellow color, fill is going to be black. And this is really the only reason I'm using black is because yellow you can't see in white on white very well. You'll see those look a lot the same, but that is actually an orange color. The rule, so now if it's red, let's do this correctly here. Equals A3 equals red. It's not case sensitive, but I just like to make it look nice. So we have a black background, and our font's going to be red, and we're going to bold it. Okay, so we have all our colors in there. Now what happens if we don't actually have color showing in there? Well, we're going to have in the formula that it's going to say none are selected. So we're going to do another one that says if A3 equals none, again, doesn't matter, selected, then we're going to leave this at no format set. Okay, so right now Excel doesn't know how to format that, so they're going to just leave it as a blank cell there. Okay, so the reason that I was using X's in before, but we're going to make this formula so that no matter what value they put in A, C, or E, we can pick that up and we can display the appropriate color. So let's go ahead and get started on our formula. So start any formula. We're going to start in cell A3 is what it actually is, but it encompasses A3 through F10 to make this big box. So we're going to go ahead and type our equal sign. Anytime you start a formula, you have to start with an equal sign. And we're just going to type the if statement. So you'll notice when I type if that in the drop down here, it actually displays if, and if that's what you want to start with, you just hit tab, and it automatically puts that little start parenthesis in there. So you'll see down here that our logical test is our first statement that we need to say. So we're going to say if A1 is greater than blank, which is 2 apostrophes, then we're going to display red. Simple as that. So what happens now if the value is false? What do we want it to display? So we're going to say, well, if it's not red, then we want it to say if, again, we're working on our logical test, C1 is greater than blank, well, then our value putting a comma to go to the next piece of the statement. So now if it's true, I want that to say yellow. Okay, easy peasy. Okay, so what happens if yellow's not selected? So we got to put our comma in to go to the next piece of the statement, which is our value if false. Well, if that's not right, then we want to say if E1 is greater than nothing, then I'm going to add a little bit, another piece here. So you can see we're typing in red, yellow, and blue. Well, we already have those values up here, so I can just say now if E1 is greater than blank, then I can say and make the value F1, which is blue. It will display blue. Okay, so now what happens if nothing else, if none of those conditions are met? What do we want to do? Well, for now we're going to say just put in none selected. Okay, so now we're going to end our statement for the if statement. We have to end each one of them. So you'll see it at the bottom of my screen here that it's saying, okay, so we've put in our value if false, but now we need to close it. And again, we put in our value if false right here. It's showing that. So we need to close that. And now we're done. So right now it's telling us nothing's been selected. So if I put an X in here, you're going to see that now our conditional formatting is at work, and it realizes, hey, I have an X in here. So it's making the value red. Now, of course, if we put an X in here, it's not going to. It doesn't know yet that red and yellow meet orange. Sorry, it took me a second there to figure out what colors it made. But it does know that if I put an X in yellow, that is yellow. And it also knows if I put an X here, it's blue. Again, doesn't know that blue and yellow make green. Okay, so now we have to adjust our logical statement. Okay, so now we have to adjust our logical statement. So we're going to take, let's look again at the formula here. So if we're looking at if A1 is greater than blank, then we're displaying red. Well, that's great, but what happens if we have more than one box checked? Now, if we're going to add statements that reflect that, we can't have these at the front, because now if I add a statement at the end instead of none selected, let's just display what's going to happen here. So if I said, well, now instead of saying none selected, let's look at another condition and say if, we're going to add the word and. So we're doing an if and statement. So we're saying if this equals, is greater than blank, and you'll see that it says logical 1. So we're saying that if that is correct and this is greater than blank. Now both of those conditions have to be true to follow this next statement. Then we want it to say orange. And value if false is none selected. So I want to show you what happens here. And I'll explain why. So, and again, we'll just go through. Oops. If and blah. Oh. An orange. There. Alright, so I'm going to mark both of these. Now, it should say orange, right? Because we put in our formula here that if A1 is greater than blank and C1 is greater than blank, then none is selected. Well, unfortunately, the way that Excel reads this is that if A1 is greater than blank, then it's red, and that's where it stops. It doesn't know that it doesn't continue on in the formula any further. So now if we take this piece out, so we're back to where we started. Now if I hit enter here, it's going to tell me that red is selected. back into this statement, and we're going to add at the beginning, I'm going to say if and, as we did before, A1 is greater than blank, and C1 is greater than blank, then, so both those conditions are true, then we want it to display orange. And if not, we want to continue on with the statement. Okay. Well, let's put our X in there. Now it's displaying orange because we've put that statement at the beginning. We're saying if and A1 and C1. So if A1 is greater than nothing and C1 is greater than nothing, then we're displaying orange. If not, then we're going to continue on and say, okay, is it red, is it yellow, is it blue? Oh, I think it took blue out. Oh, no, I forgot I put the formula for F1. Okay, so we have that in there. Now we need to go through our other logical tests and say, all right, so if that doesn't work, so if A1 and C1 don't make orange, then what other colors can we have? So let's say we have if and A1 is greater than blank and E1 is greater than blank. Okay, so now what color does red and blue make? It makes, end our and statement and say it's going to be purple. And if that's not correct, then we're going to continue on with our statement. I'm going to add one more to the front here because we can also have yellow and blue together to make green. So if and, those spaces. So now yellow is greater than blank and blue is greater than blank, then, and our and statement, then we want it to say green. And if that doesn't work, we're going to continue our statement. Now you'll notice when I hit enter, it's saying that it found a typo, and it's going to try to correct it. Is this okay? So basically, I just forgot to close the ends of all of these statements, so it's going to put in end parentheses for every statement that I've typed. So that's perfect. We have a good solution to our problem here. Now, all of our statements are correct. We're going to go ahead and put X in red and yellow and show that that's orange. We're going to put an X in red and blue and show that that's purple. Now, if I put an X in yellow, it doesn't know. So it's going to go back to our formula and say, all right, so which two statements are correct? So you'll notice that at the beginning of our statement, it's saying if C1 is greater than blank and E1 is greater than blank. So if yellow and blue is greater than nothing, then we want green. So that's our very first condition that's been met. So that's where it stopped. That's why green is displaying. So if I take out red, it's going to stay at green. So I'm going to put in red and blue is purple. I can type an M in here, capitalized. It still recognizes what I'm doing here. Now, the weird thing is, if I put a 1 in there, even though it's greater than blank, it's not accepting that as a value. So, and the reason for that is because it's a number. So when you're using the quotation marks, you're saying that it's got to be greater than no text. So I could put 1 in there like that. What I did was put a apostrophe in front of the 1, which indicated that it was a text field, even though it's a number. But just some small tidbits on how Excel is interpreting everything. So that is the conditional if statement, and from its simplest form to a more advanced piece. If you have any questions, please visit us at www.excelgenius.co and send us a message. Thank you and have a great day.